All right, I'm here talking with AJ Croce, who will be performing tonight at the Town Hall in New York City and Tuesday at the Kodak Center in Rochester. AJ, this is such a thrill to get to talk to you. I'm such a huge fan. In fact, at the end of the year, Spotify releases who you listen to the most, and you were number 2 on my list, right behind the Beatles. So you're in pretty good.
That's high praise, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're in great company. Before we get into anything, did you happen to actually hear the new Beatles song that was released?
You know, I haven't had a chance because I've been on the road and moving nonstop, but I've been wanting to, and if I have a few minutes, today or tomorrow, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's an interesting process how it was done. There's a whole YouTube video, how Peter Jackson and his company sort of got it all together. Definitely recommend doing that. But we're here to talk about you. And I just get so nervous before doing these sort of interviews. What is your... how do you deal with pressure? I mean, you've performed on The Tonight Show. You've performed in front of, sold-out audiences for decades now. Do you still get nervous? And how did you deal with the pressure, of nerves when starting out?
I think there were moments when I did. Certainly, TV is one of those places where it's easy to get nervous because you realize there's 20 people, 20 million people watching you, not 20 people, and so there's 20 people in the room and 20 million on the other side of that camera. So it can be nerve-wracking, when you're young. But as you get older, I think it's like, hey, I'm going to do my best. This is what I practice all the time for. This is what it's all about, is sharing the music and having fun.
Yeah, yes. And you have so much fun. I love watching. I got hooked on your music by watching YouTube videos of you, and you just always seem to have so much fun while playing music. But this tour you're doing right now is something that I wasn't sure you were ever going to do. So the theme for this tour, for the most part, is, you're covering your dad, Jim's music. Do you find it to be very therapeutic? Because, not to talk about myself, but I have a YouTube channel, and my father passed away when I was younger. And what I do on my channel is I get all my old home movies and I talk about them and I show footage of my father, and I found that to be very therapeutic. Is getting to play your dad's music a form of therapy?
It is, I suppose, in a way. It's a tribute. It's a tribute to his legacy of music, and it does bring me closer to him. I grew up listening to his records, to his record collection, and it was through those albums that I became inspired to play music. Sometimes, even more than listening to him, it was the fact that, I heard Ray Charles and I heard Sam Cooke and Otis Redding and the Rolling Stones and Fats Waller and old blues like Mississippi John Hurt and Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee and Billie Holiday. All these artists, Little Richard, changed my life. All of these things that I heard as a kid really inspired me to do this. And there came a place and time, about 20 years ago, where I was archiving my father's music, and I was archiving one particular recording, and he was practicing for a concert, at a little club or little bar outside of Philly. And the songs he was playing were the exact songs I had played. These really obscure tunes by Fats Waller, by Pink Anderson, by Jimmy Rogers, by John Hurt, by Skip James. It was uncanny. It wasn't like the same artist songs. It was the same songs, and they were deep cuts. And I got chills and realized we had a deeper musical connection than I had ever known. And around that time, I had started playing guitar. Always been a piano player first and foremost. And so when I had that when I heard this music and I was at the same time learning a new instrument, I felt like it was time to at least explore his music privately initially. And with time, it just became something, where I felt like I had success of my own. I had lived, and I was, proud of what I had done and ready to look at his accomplishments. And there were so many of them, and I'm so proud of what he did.
Yeah, and your father obviously being one of the most famous musicians of the last 50 years, and you've made your own mark in the music industry, but I'm sure when you first started out, having the name Croce, I mean, was it difficult to find your own identity? I mean, your music, it speaks for itself, but I feel like a lot of people might just associate you with your dad, and you
Sure.
definitely did your own thing though, and that's why I love you. I mean, I love your dad's music and I love your music, and I have playlists dedicated to both of you guys. I'm such a huge fan of your family. But did you find it difficult at first to sort of be your own self?
I think that was what came most naturally, was to be myself. I think there were expectations from other people, but they're not very practical or really I guess there's a facet of fame that has always confused me, not so much because of my own recognition, but because of, seeing how people reacted to my father's name. It was really curious. And I think there are some people that wanted to, I don't know what they want, but I think maybe some people want a carbon copy of him somehow. Some people want, don't know. I think that not knowing what that expectation is, but knowing that there is some sort of expectation was always a curious feeling. That being said, I just pursued what I do as a musician, practiced and worked really hard to be the best musician and songwriter and performer that I can be, and that's really all I can do.
Yeah, and AJ, you do such a great job covering other artists, and your last album, I believe, was a cover album, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, by request.
Is there plans for a new album? Anything that you're working on?
Yeah, a lot of new songs. I'm going into the studio in January. This tour, this 50th anniversary tour, is it's a pretty long endeavor. It started last week, but it's going to be going through next year. And so in between runs with the Croce show, I'm going to be recording and playing festivals of my own stuff, and probably doing a European tour of my stuff, and then we'll finish this 50th anniversary tour next year. But the response to it has been just so incredibly positive that it's hard to say, okay, well, this is going to be the last. It's going to be the last one. So I just see how the audiences react, and it's just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and you've released a few songs, at least one of your dad's music, that you re-recorded. Is there any plan to release, whether it's a DVD or on YouTube or even an album of these songs, or is this something that you just want to have, happen on tour, and then you just, move on to do your own thing?
It's hard to say. I could see possibly, if it was filmed, that could make sense, possibly. But I don't see a recording per se. I think he did a great job of his stuff, and And there are so many other people that have performed my father's music over the years. So I feel like he did the best job of it. I suppose if it was for the sake of the performance, as far as a live performance, that's really what I'm trying to share and convey is the living, breathing, music that was, that's created each night and in celebration of what was created 50 years ago.
I'm just going to say this, and you don't have to say anything about this, but I just don't understand how your dad is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It never made sense to me. So many artists, like Harry Nilsson, Warren Zevon, your father, not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Does something like that irritate you, or do you just, pay no mind to it?
No, I mean, it's a club of people that, and it's one of those things. It's a popularity contest among the, 10 people or fewer who are on the board and who are choosing. My father never won a Grammy. He never even got nominated for a Grammy for those 3 albums, which are pretty iconic. And so, I mean, I think the fact that he was included in the Songwriters Hall of Fame in the late 80s, I think that was a real honor because he is among some of the greatest songwriters of the 20th century. I think he would have been really proud of that.
My opinion, top 5 all-time songwriter. And you're no slouch yourself, AJ. And you can hear AJ Croce tonight in New York City. That's going to be at the Town Hall. And then Tuesday at the Kodak Center in Rochester. Now, AJ, I know you have a long day ahead of you, but I got one final question, and that has nothing to do with music. I know your life is heavily influenced by music, but what do you do besides music? Is there something that AJ Croce does for fun that doesn't involve music? So what are some of your hobbies, interests, and whatnot?
Okay, well, I love old vintage cars. I wake up every morning and do my New York Times crossword. I live in Nashville, but I just love being in nature. I love being, I try and walk 5 or 6 miles a day. So I can see when I'm on tour, I can walk around the city where I am or be able to go to one of the parks and just enjoy it. I love old movies. I'm a old movie fan, and so there's all kinds of stuff that I'm inspired by. Great books. I've always been, because I grew up on the road, I always wanted to make sure that I had all of these great, 300 of the great world pieces of literature in my library at all time, as far as nowadays on my Kindle. In the early days, I would travel with 8 or 10 books on the road, and I'm so grateful they're lighter now.
Yeah.
All in the Kindle. But yeah, I mean, I try to, I love learning. And I think that sort of thirst for knowledge and greater understanding is really what inspires me to do so much of what I do.
Well, AJ, you've inspired me. I started playing piano, and I'm nowhere near the talent that you are, but you and your family, your father, have influenced me and inspired me, and it has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. And you could go to AJ Croce, that's AJCROCE, music.com. You could look at all the tour dates and all the information that you need to find out about AJ. Thank you so much, man. This is an absolute honor, man, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Take care.